afternoon, ma'am. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We need to see some identification, please.
Why? I'm in my own driveway. I'm a United States citizen.
Understood. We still need to verify. Go ahead and hand over your ID and any proof of citizenship.
Are you serious?
Yes, ma'am. If you refuse, we'll have to ask you to step out and you'll be detained.
All right, hold on a second.
Got it.
On that bright afternoon in 2023, 3 federal agents arrived at a quiet suburban driveway believing they were about to make a routine immigration arrest. What they did not know was that within minutes, their decision would expose one of the most disturbing cases of mistaken identity and abuse of authority that year. This is the story of how federal enforcement went catastrophically wrong and how one woman's constitutional rights were violated in her own driveway. If you value investigative content that holds power accountable, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue bringing these critical stories to light. It was approximately 3 o'clock in the afternoon when Officer Vanessa Cole stepped out of her front door. The sun was bright overhead, casting long shadows across the manicured lawns of her suburban neighborhood. She was dressed casually in an off-white sweatshirt, her badge and service weapons secured inside her home. This was her day off. Her plans were simple: drive to the grocery store, pick up what she needed, return home. She had no reason to believe that the next 20 minutes would fundamentally alter her understanding of the system she had sworn to serve. Officer Cole walked toward her black Porsche sedan parked in the driveway. As she approached the vehicle, she noticed a dark SUV pulling up to the curb. 3 men stepped out. They were dressed in tactical vests bearing the letters ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Lead agent Marcus Reed approached first, flanked by agents Thomas Keller and Daniel Ortiz. Their body language was confident, purposeful. They believed they knew exactly why they were there. Agent Reed called out to her before she could reach her car door. He identified himself and his colleagues as federal agents conducting an enforcement operation. He did not explain what that operation entailed. He did not state why they were at her residence. He simply demanded identification. Officer Cole, trained in de-escalation and compliance protocols, remained calm. She retrieved her driver's license from her wallet and handed it to Agent Reed. This was the first critical moment. This was the moment where procedure should have taken over. Agent Reed glanced at the identification. He did not study it. He did not compare the photograph to the woman standing before him. He did not radio dispatch to verify the information. He did not run the name through any database. He simply looked at it, handed it to Agent Keller for a cursory glance, and then made a decision that would later be described in legal filings as reckless and unconstitutional. He told Officer Cole that the identification meant nothing. He told her she needed to exit the vehicle immediately. She had not yet entered the vehicle, but the command was clear. She was being detained.
Officer Cole's voice remained steady. She informed the agents that she was a district police officer. She explained that she was a United States citizen. She offered to retrieve her badge from inside the house. Agent Reed refused. He stated that anyone could claim to be a police officer. He accused her of using a false identity. He suggested she was an undocumented alien attempting to deceive federal authorities. This accusation, delivered with certainty and without evidence, marked the second critical failure. At no point did the agents request supervisor contact information. At no point did they ask for her precinct number. At no point did they attempt any form of verification beyond the identification she had already provided. Officer Cole then made a request that should have resolved the situation immediately. She asked the agents to contact her supervisor. She provided the direct line to her district office. She gave them her badge number. She remained cooperative, calm, and professional. The agents ignored her. Agent Ortiz moved to her side. Agent Keller positioned himself behind her. Agent Reed informed her that she was being detained for suspected immigration violations. He produced handcuffs. The feeling of metal closing around her wrists was something Officer Cole had experienced many times in her career, but always from the other side. Always as the one ensuring public safety, never as the one being accused, never as the one being treated as a threat. She did not resist. She did not raise her voice. She asked again for them to verify her identity. They did not respond. They walked her to their vehicle, placed her in the back seat, and closed the door. The drive began without explanation. Officer Cole sat in the back of the federal vehicle, hands restrained behind her, watching her neighborhood pass by through tinted windows. She asked where they were taking her. No answer. She asked again for them to contact her department. No answer. She repeated that she was a police officer, that she was a citizen, that this was a mistake. The agents in the front seat spoke to each other in low tones, but they did not speak to her. This silence, this refusal to engage, would later be cited as evidence of deliberate indifference. Minutes passed. 5, 10, 15. During this time, Officer Cole later reported, a realization began to settle over her. She understood the power imbalance in that moment. She understood that despite her badge, despite her oath, despite her citizenship, she was entirely at the mercy of 3 men who had decided she was guilty without evidence. She understood what countless others had experienced: the fear, the helplessness, the fundamental violation of being treated as less than human by those who claim to represent justice.
Then the vehicle slowed. It pulled over to the side of a random street miles from her home. Agent Reed turned around. He told her there had been a misunderstanding. He opened the door. He removed the handcuffs. He did not apologize. He did not explain how the misunderstanding had occurred. He did not provide paperwork documenting the stop. He did not offer contact information for filing a complaint. He simply told her she was free to go. And then the 3 agents drove away, leaving Officer Vanessa Cole standing alone on an unfamiliar street corner with no phone, no wallet, and no way to get home except to walk. The emotional impact of those 20 minutes cannot be overstated. Officer Cole would later describe feeling a profound sense of betrayal, not just by the 3 agents who detained her, but by a system that allowed such an encounter to happen without accountability measures in place. She walked nearly 2 miles back to her residence. When she arrived home, she did not cry. She did not collapse. She sat down at her kitchen table and began documenting everything she could remember: times, names, vehicle descriptions, badge numbers, every detail, because she knew what came next. Within hours, Officer Cole reported the incident to her department. Her supervisor immediately launched an internal review. By the following morning, a formal complaint had been filed with ICE's Office of Professional Responsibility. The complaint outlined multiple violations: failure to verify identification, unlawful detention without probable cause, refusal to allow verification of claims, abandonment of a detainee without transportation. Each violation represented not just a procedural error, but a fundamental disregard for constitutional protections. The department's investigation moved quickly. Statements were taken from Officer Cole. Her personnel file was reviewed, confirming her status as an active duty officer with an exemplary record. Her citizenship documentation was verified. Her residence was confirmed. Every piece of information she had attempted to provide to the agents was proven accurate within a matter of hours. The question investigators were left with was simple and damning. Why had 3 trained federal agents been unable or unwilling to perform these same basic checks? ICE released a statement 3 weeks after the incident. It acknowledged that a stop had occurred. It stated that the agents had been following up on information related to an enforcement operation. It did not specify what that information was. It did not explain why Officer Cole had been targeted. It did not address why verification procedures had been ignored. The statement concluded with a line that would infuriate civil rights advocates. The matter is under internal review and appropriate action will be taken if warranted. Officer Cole retained legal counsel. Her attorney filed a federal civil rights lawsuit alleging unlawful detention, false arrest, racial profiling, and violation of Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable search and seizure. The lawsuit named all 3 agents individually as well as the agency. It sought damages not just for the physical detention, but for the emotional distress, the violation of dignity, and the message the incident sent about who is presumed innocent and who is presumed guilty in America. The case drew immediate media attention. Bodycam footage requests were filed, but the agents had not activated their cameras during the encounter. This absence of footage became its own controversy. ICE policy required documentation of enforcement actions. The failure to record raised questions about whether the agents knew their actions would not withstand scrutiny. Without video evidence, the case would rest on testimony, witness statements, and the credibility of those involved. Public reaction was swift and divided. Some argued that mistakes happen in law enforcement and that the agents had acted in good faith based on available information. Others pointed out that good faith requires verification and that the refusal to perform basic checks suggested something far more troubling than a simple error. Civil rights organizations highlighted the case as emblematic of broader issues within immigration enforcement, where the presumption of illegality often overrides the presumption of innocence. Officer Cole's own department stood by her. Her chief issued a public statement expressing full confidence in her account and condemning the treatment she received. Other officers, both within her precinct and across the country, voiced support. Many shared their own stories of being profiled or questioned despite their credentials. The thin blue line, so often invoked to protect officers from outside criticism, became a shield for one of their own against federal overreach.
The investigation into the 3 ICE agents revealed troubling patterns. Agent Marcus Reed had been the subject of 2 prior complaints involving aggressive tactics during field operations. Neither complaint had resulted in disciplinary action. Agent Thomas Keller had completed bias training only months before the incident with Officer Cole, yet demonstrated no application of that training when it mattered. Agent Daniel Ortiz was relatively new to the unit, and his participation in the detention raised questions about supervision and mentorship within the team. Depositions were scheduled. Legal motions were filed. The case moved through the federal court system with the slow inevitability of bureaucratic process. Meanwhile, Officer Cole returned to duty. She responded to calls. She wrote reports. She testified in court on unrelated cases. But those who worked closely with her noticed changes. A wariness that had not been there before. A hesitation when interacting with federal task forces. A deeper empathy when dealing with individuals who claimed they were being wrongly accused. 16 months after the incident, the case was settled. The terms were sealed by court order, but sources close to the matter indicated the settlement included financial compensation, as well as commitments to policy reform. ICE agreed to implement additional verification protocols for field operations. Agents would be required to run identification through databases before making detention decisions. Supervisory approval would be mandatory for stops involving individuals claiming law enforcement status. Body cameras would be mandatory and activated for all enforcement encounters. These reforms, born from one woman's nightmare, would theoretically protect others from experiencing the same violation. But policy changes on paper do not always translate to changes in practice. Implementation requires training, accountability, and a culture shift that acknowledges past failures. Whether those shifts occurred within ICE remained an open question. Officer Cole's attorney stated publicly that while the settlement represented a step toward justice, true accountability would only come when agents face real consequences for constitutional violations.
The broader implications of this case extend beyond one afternoon in a suburban driveway. It forces examination of how authority is exercised and who is subjected to suspicion. It reveals the fragility of rights when those in power choose not to honor them. Officer Vanessa Cole had every advantage. She had credentials. She had institutional backing. She had the knowledge and training to navigate the system. Yet, even with all of that, she could not prevent her own unlawful detention because 3 agents decided her word, her identification, and her offers of verification were insufficient. For those without badges, without institutional power, without the resources to fight back, the question becomes unavoidable. If this can happen to a police officer in her own driveway, what protection exists for anyone else? The answer is uncomfortable and necessary. Protection exists only when those with authority choose to exercise it responsibly, when verification is prioritized over assumption, when procedure is followed over prejudice, when the humanity of the individual is valued over the efficiency of the operation. This incident lasted less than 20 minutes, but its consequences will last far longer. It raises a question every agency must answer. When authority replaces verification, who pays the price? If this story impacted you, please subscribe to this channel and share this video. These stories need to be told. Accountability requires visibility. Your engagement ensures that cases like Officer Cole's are not forgotten and that the fight for civil rights continues. Thank you for watching.